There are people who will drown in silence rather than reach for a hand. Not because they're proud, but because somewhere, long ago, they learned that needing someone was the most dangerous thing they could do. Picture a child standing at the edge of a room. The world around them is loud, voices rising, doors slamming, the kind of chaos that makes the air feel thick. And in the middle of it all, this child learns something that will follow them for decades. Don't make it worse. Don't be another problem. So they fold themselves smaller. They swallow their fear. They learn to tie their own shoes when their hands are still too clumsy, to comfort themselves when the nightmare comes, to smile when someone asks if they're okay, even when the answer is drowning somewhere deep inside their chest. This is where it begins, not with a single moment of betrayal, but with 1,000 small erasures. 1,000 times when their need was met with exhaustion, impatience, or worse, nothing at all. And slowly, the lesson crystallizes into something unshakable. My pain is a burden. My needs are too much. I am safer alone. They don't become people who never ask for help because they don't need it. They become people who never ask for help because they learned, too early and too well, that asking is a risk they can't afford to take. Fast forward 20 years. They're adults now, functional, capable, the kind of person people call reliable, strong, independent. They show up for others without hesitation. They're the friend who stays up until 3 a.m. talking someone through a breakup, the sibling who always answers the phone. But when their own world begins to crack, silence. They carry their struggles like contraband, hidden, shameful. A relationship falls apart and they tell no one. A depression so heavy it turns their days gray and shapeless. And through it all, they smile. They function. They show up. Because somewhere deep in their nervous system, there's a belief coded in survival. If I reveal my weakness, I will be abandoned. If I ask for help, I will confirm what I've always feared, that I am unworthy of it. The psychologist Bessel van der Kolk writes about how trauma lives in the body. For the child who learned that their needs were burdensome, asking for help doesn't just feel risky, it registers as a threat. Their body remembers. It remembers the times they cried and no one came, the times they asked and were met with sighs, with irritation. And so the adult who never asks for help isn't being noble. They're protecting themselves from a pain they've already lived through. But here's the cruel paradox. In refusing to need anyone, they deny themselves the very thing that could heal them: connection. Because we are not built for isolation. We are social animals. But if you never ask for help, you never give anyone the chance to show up for you. You never let them prove that your need isn't a burden, it's a bridge. And so you remain behind glass, telling yourself you're fine. But late at night, when the house is quiet, the truth whispers, you're so tired of carrying everything alone. There's a moment that comes for many of these people, a breaking point. Maybe it's a loss too great. Maybe it's just exhaustion. And suddenly, they can't do it anymore. They can't pretend, can't perform. And in that terrifying freefall, something unexpected happens. Someone catches them. A friend who noticed the silence. A partner who saw through the, I'm fine. And for the first time, they experience what it feels like to be held in their weakness. It doesn't fix everything, but it plants a seed. A tiny, fragile possibility. Maybe needing someone doesn't make me weak. Maybe it makes me human. To ask for help when you've spent your life believing you shouldn't is an act of radical courage. It's a rebellion against every message that told you to be small. It says, I trust you with my humanity. And yes, sometimes asking for help will hurt. But sometimes someone will surprise you. They'll sit with you in the heaviness. They'll carry a corner of the weight. And in that moment, something inside you might finally crack open. Not broken, but blooming. You were always allowed to need. You were always allowed to ask. You were always allowed to be human, messy and scared and reaching for a hand in the dark. And if you've forgotten how, maybe start small. Ask someone to listen. It won't feel natural. It might feel terrifying. But I promise you this, on the other side of that fear is a freedom you've been denying yourself for years. The freedom to be seen, to be held, to finally put down what you were never meant to carry alone. There's a child standing at the edge of a room, but this time, when they reach out, someone reaches back. If you've ever felt like this, you're not alone, and you never were.